question, which outlines very clearly mine and very many other people's extremely strong objections to this proposal. So I assume you've read it. So I'll just give you some of the background. Page 6 of the local plan document, which Councillor Burkett has already referred to, says, Greater Cambridge partners commit to the delivery of an additional 1,000 new homes on rural exception sites. This will support the creation and maintenance of sustainable rural communities in market towns and villages. It doesn't say anything about additional being additional to the housing already identified in the local plan. South Cambs website, as of yesterday, under affordable homes for local people on exception sites, says, as part of the City Deal negotiations, we committed to providing an additional, in italics, additional 1,000 new homes for local people on rural exception sites. Press release from South Cambs, well, I think actually from the City Deal, on the 28th of November, titled First Affordable Housing Site Announced as Part of City Deal. The first housing site as part of plans to deliver 1,000 additional new affordable homes through the Greater Cambridge City Deal has been announced. Around 18 homes to help people on the housing waiting list could be built in Littlington after council bosses gained support from the local parish council. Press release, 25th of February, titled City Deal Partners to Become Developer to Boost Affordable Housing. Note that, the City Deals being the developer. As part of the Greater Cambridge City Deal, all partners have committed to delivering an additional 1,000 affordable homes. Cambridge News, 20th of November. University of Cambridge backs housing investment at inaugural City Deal Executive Board meeting. The City Deal will also enable the delivery of 1,000 additional affordable homes and 450 apprenticeships, with work ongoing to link local skills training to the needs of the area. Cambridge News, 27th of February. Cambridge housing crisis tackled by City Deal partnership, promising thousands of new homes. The £500 million City Deal has already pledged to build 1,000 affordable homes to address a major barrier to the area's future economic growth. So here it says it's the City Deal which is building the houses. It's not talking about what this paper is talking about, which is it capitalising on houses built by developers. It says the City Deal will be building the houses. So the key words are commit. Would you let me go on, even though the red light's on? I'll only be another minute, please.
Briefly.
Please, thank you. So the key words are commit, affordable, and local people. So when we were asked to sell the City Deal to our residents, particularly in South Cambs, it was the headline of the delivery of 1,000 additional affordable homes on rural exception sites, which was the main sell for us. Today, you're being asked to renege on that deal so that the 1,000 homes are not delivered by the City Deal, not additional housing, not all affordable, not exclusively on rural exception sites, and not for local people. Even if you accept Councillor Hipford's compromise, which was discussed at the Assembly, to only account the affordable housing in the non-local plan sites, they're still not delivered by the Greater Cambridge City Deal, not additional housing, not exclusively on rural exception sites, and not for local people. I don't believe that either proposal will stand up to legal challenge, and I think either will undoubtedly do irreparable damage to the already sullied reputation of the City Deal. You need to consider not only what the legacy of the City Deal is going to be, but also what our personal legacies are going to be here. Will it be pride in having stuck firmly to the vision and principles of the City Deal, which one of you at least signed, or will it be shame at having caved into pressure from I do not know where to manipulate the figures by changing the long-accepted definition of a rural exception site in order, I can only assume, to tick off a target? If you're minded to accept this proposal, please first ask yourself why. What's the point of this? Who gains from it? Certainly not our residents. It is the only people who actually suffer are those people in South Cambridgeshire sitting for years and years on a housing list whose only chance of getting, or whose increased chance of getting a house is down to the city deal. This is a tremendous opportunity, and you're in serious danger of throwing that opportunity away. Please reject this proposal.
Thank you. Well, we can respond to that. Should I start? Yeah, okay. I mean, I think we've had one discussion in the previous item on targets, and on that issue we want to maximise apprenticeships. Similarly, the partners, and I think some of this, Councillor Smith, is about the partners in the city deal. Those three partners are partners in the Cambridge Development Agency in terms of affordable housing there. Those three partners signed up to this deal. But the government itself gave the city deal nil resource for this purpose, and so a lot of what was signed up to was the intention of the three partners. So in terms of the original document, which obviously the city deal has developed in terms of its agenda, and particularly through the partners, all it signed up to originally was that the partners commit to the delivery of an additional 1,000 new homes. So all that we've committed to government that we are accountable for is for more of the minimalist approach that was in the wording that's been given to us. But nevertheless, we do not think that the wording that we started with is the right place to be. So that's been raised at the Assembly. I just started it. So essentially, we are here and we will now discuss how we respond rightly to the issue that you put back, because the wording that came forward was not right, and now we will respond to that. So our response will be as much in the discussion that we now have as in my answer to your question. So if Councillor Hickford could, we'll take the report. So if Mr. Collier and Mr. Kelly and Caroline Punt could make their contribution, then Roger, if you, as Chair of the Assembly, also reflect further on what Councillor Smith contributed at the Assembly, then we will come forward with a proposal to the board.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I mean, just to rehearse the purpose of the report, which was to define a way in which we could monitor this figure in the city deal agreement. And as Councillor Smith has highlighted, the city deal agreement explains that it doesn't refer to affordable, but does talk about supporting the creation and maintenance of sustainable rural communities, including in market towns and villages. Officers therefore prepared a report that sought to define two things. Firstly, how and when you counted units, and then I think obviously in terms of the points of particular controversy, which units you count in terms of their tenure or type. So on figure 2 on page 49, the methodology which officers set out is that what you wouldn't do is start counting them straight away because the housing needs have not yet been identified in accordance with the trajectory. In other words, the commitment was to count additional units above the local plan. We are not currently in a position where we were to start counting all sites in rural areas. They would be additional above the local plan trajectory. So in terms of the methodology, the first point is that officers have identified a process in which when we reach a point where we are positive in unit numbers above the local plan trajectory, we would start counting towards that 1,000. That seems right and appropriate. The key point around what you then count, and indeed whether you count any of the units coming forward on sites that, because there is no 5-year land supply, and sites which would normally be rural exception sites because they were not in the plan and they were beyond village boundaries, whether you count all of the housing that comes forward on those sites, because essentially the supply of rural exception sites has been turned off and been replaced by a veritable number of market promoted housing sites with affordable housing on them. The report suggests that the net additional unit numbers, which is the total number, could be a figure that was used. Now, obviously, the discussion assembly, and that was one approach. The Assembly's discussion resulted in, and I'm sure you'll hear from Councillor Hickford about this, a view that that would be disingenuous because you should just count the affordable units on those sites, amongst a range of views that also included you should count none of them until they were solely rural exception sites. There were also some questions raised around the way in which dwellings on rural exception sites and indeed these sites were tied to local residents. From the inquiries that I've made, that is not a universal approach because at this moment in time, so we have no policy on that, but we do seek to secure it where there is a particular and identified local need. That can be evidenced because clearly general needs for affordable housing also contributes to sustaining rural communities and so on. So the report suggested that there was no other options in terms of counting. They're right because we think you shouldn't count from a point of deficit. And I think that was a comment that relates probably to the previous discussion as well. But so we would recommend that methodology. Wait until you reach your housing trajectory. The suggestion, I think, was not supported in the recommendation that you count along the lines of the methodology that we set out, which was to count all units on sites outside of the rural settlements, and I think we did a counter resolution from the Assembly to that. From a planning perspective, either approach is perfectly able to be monitored and reported appropriately to you on a quarterly basis, I think is what was set out in the report, and then published through the annual monitoring report as well as about city view papers. So I think that's probably sufficient to introduce the report.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Councillor Hickford.
Thank you, Chair. As an individual, I was particularly vociferous on this subject and felt quite strongly, but what I'll try and do is report as chair and what the Assembly came up with or didn't come up with in the end. It's basically what was the spirit of the city build, what was actually meant when we did the document in the first place. I've had one definition that said just 1,000 new homes, which could be all market homes. Actually, the document is about the rural exception sites, which means everything should be affordable. There's lots of input. Councillor Smith's obviously shown some of that. There's lots of others that felt quite strongly. One member felt that actually, yes, we should include everything that's being built at the moment outside of British envelopes, etc. But most felt that this wasn't in the spirit of what Cambs City Deal actually interpreted what it was meant to be doing. In the report, we were told that there's about 2,200 houses being built, of which 40% are affordable. And when you work out the figures, someone worked out in the Assembly, I think it came up to 922 would be affordable anyway. So it seemed, and I thought as chair I was getting some sort of consensus, that if we just included the affordable and counted them as the rural exception sites, that might be acceptable. I misjudged that as chairman because I asked for a vote on it, and there's 5 people, and I'll read out what it was for those that haven't got it in front of them. The chairman asked members to signify whether they would support the inclusion of only those affordable homes in the developments outlined in the appendix as being an appropriate definition of eligible homes for the 1,000 additional homes on rural section sites as part of the City Deal's commitment. I don't remember saying that because it seems quite waffly to me, but I'm sure it was something along those lines. Anyway, there's 5 in favour, 4 against that, and I get the feeling that those 4 were actually Assembly for not counting any. And to be fair, 5 of the Assembly had no view whatsoever. And I think it's fair to say that on the Assembly we had people without development planning experience, and this was getting very technical. And therefore there's 5 people who didn't have a view at all. I think the board knows the dilemma here. I think it's been highlighted quite well by Councillor Smith. I think we've heard a softening approach from officers, and it's a question of how we want to actually define these 1,000 houses going forward. The Assembly obviously couldn't come to any conclusion on it, but affordable should definitely be in there somewhere, but how you actually specifically count them is down to you as a board. Thank you.
Councillor Carpen. And I think what we're aiming to do is either to move towards a conclusion on the wording, or if we aren't able to reach that today, to say how we're going to get to one.
I'm quite pleased that this agenda item comes after the skills one, because the skills one has shown us that the city deal agreement, which is presumably like the devolution agreement, written by government lawyers at the last minute in a hurry, is not perfect, not perfectly drafted. And actually, as it happens, the word affordable doesn't appear in it. It is extra new houses on page 1 and additional new homes on page 6. So the word
Well, except that there is some extra wording as well.
But if I go back, Mr. Collier, to the paper you brought to South Cambs on the 10th of April 2014, when South Cambs considered this, pretty clear what your paper said, page 16, 1,000 additional affordable homes, which is exactly the point that Councillor Smith is making. So I'm absolutely clear that, on further thought, I'm afraid I reject your proposal in your paper, and I accept what the Assembly is suggesting as a reasonable compromise. But I then would ask us to go further. Just like we've just said with skills, that 420 should be the absolute baseline, and we should aim to do better. I think once you've agreed the definition of these extra houses, we should think about 1,000 and whether that's the right number. Now, I'm not convinced that we should set a new, and this is like a personal number, outside the legal commitment in the city deal, but we should have a bigger number than 1,000. I accept the fact we shouldn't set a new number today, and possibly even this year, because we haven't got any local plans at the moment. We don't have a mock-up the local plan process. But once the local plans are approved, which we all hope they will be approved, I think we ourselves, or officers of the Housing Delivery Authority, should think about setting ourselves a stretch target, just like we effectively agreed we'll have a stretch target for skills. And, when the local plans are done, let's have a stretch target over and above that and see what we can achieve. Because that will help our residents. So I will support the Assembly's recommendation, but I would like to have another recommendation that when, shortly after the local plans have been agreed, we think about a second stretch target.
Chairman, can I just point clarity on that? The recommendation from the Assembly was just about a recommendation. It was my recommendation as Chair, as say 5 did support it, 4 didn't support it, 5 had no view. If you can just bear that in mind. Thank you.
Just one small point, 4 didn't have a view. So it was 5, 4, and then 4. Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah. No, that's right. Sorry, thank you.
Anything you want to add, Mr. Collier?
Yeah, I think we've got ourselves into a bind on this, and for that I apologise. I think as you quite rightly said, Chairman, the thrust of the city negotiations right from the start were we need more support from government to deliver more affordable housing, and we spent a lot of time in negotiation on the city deal to provide, asking government to provide us mechanisms by which we could deliver more affordable housing. I think I also want to stress, as a management team, we are absolutely, totally committed. Almost top of our list is about delivering more affordable housing, and I think that's absolutely a commitment that all of my colleagues on the management team would share. I think we're also extremely conscious that the delay in settling the local plan is getting in the way of all sorts of policy dimensions, and we're keen to see that as a priority to resolution as well. For me, and I think in terms of priorities, you can see some of the things that we've already put in place. And I think the next item, when we're Alan's presentation, you'll see that we're really keen to provide ways that promote the delivery of affordable housing, and we strongly supported the creation of the HDA as a mechanism to do that. I won't steal any of Alan's thunder in that presentation, just but merely indicated as a commitment to our actions going forward. I think, as Stephen indicated in his introduction, you know, I think we should see these things as three separate things, and I certainly do not want to dilute in any way, and I totally accept the implication here that we're trying to dilute an affordable housing delivery mechanism here, and I want to say categorically that that was not the intention. The commitment is still there, and I think the Cabinet report that Councillor Burkett indicated really demonstrated, and actually we're not in disagreement with Councillor Smith really on this. You know, the indication was that we wanted to deliver houses on rural exception sites. By their definition, they're not 100% affordable. I think that's the other point to know. It would never be 100% affordable, but it would be predominantly affordable. The viability would have allowed some level of market housing on those sites under our current proposed housing policies. But you had a mechanism by which we could recognise and respond to government's challenge, which was to deliver more houses more quickly over and above the local plan targets. And which is why I'm really happy to accept Councillor Burkett. I've deferred to my colleagues, of course, but in terms of Councillor Burkett's challenge, we've also committed within the City deal to review our local plan targets within 5 years. So, and you know, the original deal was talking about 2019. So we already have committed to a review mechanism really early on in the process. We need to get the local plan adopted and resolved. I totally accept that, and I think Councillor Burkett acknowledged that in his recommendation as well. So I would totally endorse that as well in my presentation. Having said all of that, I think as officers we'd be really content to accept Councillor Hickford's proposal to the board, to the Assembly and therefore to the board. I think that as a mechanism, we can see that as both recognises the spirit and the deliverability, but I would also recognise that this does deliver to government's requests as well in terms of the global numbers.
So I'm looking for some wording which effectively follows up the proposal from the Assembly that you as Chair put forward. So we're looking to count affordable homes and developments towards this target. And we're also, I think, looking forward to bringing forward a further report on affordable housing delivery. And I'm stressed by the City Deal partners because the government didn't give the City Deal resource to do this. The commitment was by the partners to deliver 1,000 additional affordable homes. So in terms of the wording, we haven't actually got in front of us a clear wording. But if I take a couple more comments and then I'll propose some wording, assisted by any proposals from members of the board.
Chair, thank you. Because I don't have a proposal for wording, I have a proposal to accept Councillor Smith's question and accept that this is a fudge in terms of making the numbers work. I also accept Councillor Burkett's position that the document is quite clear. This is 1,000 affordable homes on rural exception sites. There is an issue with the local framework not being in place, and therefore developers, those sites are not going forward and not offerable under those terms. But the reality is that at the moment this is just a fudge to get the numbers. Councillor Burke is quite clear in terms of the paper that's put before South Cambs, and I want to stick by that.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Bates?
Well, I'm just looking at the actual document which everybody signed, so my starting point is to just reflect on that to start with. And I read, plan for 1,000 additional new homes here, we also actually government decided. So I think we need to just reflect before we make too many changes too quickly about including or excluding and how we are going to monitor that particular process. It certainly also further down in this piece that I'm reading talks about 2019 review, so I can confirm that as well. I'm obviously content to listen to the words, the possible recommendation, but my view actually is bearing in mind there's quite a lot of policies in respect of rural reception sites and viabilities and all sorts of other policies which play into that, including the local plan. I'm content to hear what recommendations, but my feeling at this moment in time actually is maybe we should just actually reflect and take a little time to actually try to get all the words. I understand about affordable housing. I've been connected with housing for many years when I was leader for the Cambridgeshire District Council, and before that I had a portfolio for housing. So I do have some historical knowledge of that. So my view, listening to the discussion, Councillor Smith, Councillor Hitkin, and the officers' comments, is perhaps a little bit of time here in making sure we get it right might not be a bad thought.
Any other comments people around? So we can trace why there was a proposal for a fudge, because the original target that was agreed with government was only about additional homes. But we, as a city deal, want to go further than that and work towards a target of 1,000 additional affordable homes. So in terms of how we go forward on that, my proposal is that we actually set ourselves that target of 1,000 additional affordable homes, and that we bring forward a further report on delivering that. And in addition, Councillor Berkeley has proposed that we follow up after the local plan adoption with a further stretch target beyond that. So effectively, committing us to 1,000 additional affordable homes, but that we do need to bring a proper sort of further report on that back to the Assembly and the Board. Councillor Bates. Just a point on that. This isn't I'm not taking away from the fact that our commitment to government is actually not this.
I think it's actually, when you talk about the commitment to 1,000 affordable homes, it's clear in the document it talks about rural reception sites.
Yes.
And I think we need not to rush Mr. Chairman with this, because I'm not opposed to having a target for affordable homes. It's actually quite where it sits. Okay, look, it's actually with us, with the local plan, if you like. I think it's about whether it's in rural exception sites or all sites, because we all know about Section 106 and how those are negotiated across the districts. Which brings me back to, I have to say, a little uncomfortable in deciding it today.
Mr. Kelly.
Chair, I think it's helpful because I can see the dilemma that if we justify it as affordable homes on rural exception sites, then given the current position with 5-year land supply, sites which were at the time that this city deal was signed probably anticipated as being rural exception sites have been replaced by actually 5-year land supply sites. So the same pieces of land around villages supporting sustaining communities, what are delivering are currently now earmarked for a combination of market and affordable homes. Now the Assembly and the discussion quite clearly drew a distinction between how genuine that approach was, accounting for them as non-affordable homes. It might be helpful if for the next board meeting we brought a more refined definition, because one could take and gave some choices, because it may well be that you don't get any rural exception sites ever again.
We have two currently in the pipeline.
Right.
one in my village.
Absolutely, but
So-
in the context of the circumstances of the city deal, that might be a scenario that happens. And what I would suggest is that we work on a more precise definition that captures both the affordable elements of 5-year sites and rural exception sites, but picks up on Councillor Bates's concern to make sure that we are absolutely clear on this going forward and rather than try to get off something on that moment.
So I'm trying to help Mr. Watts as well, because he's got to be able to record what we are going to say. So we haven't got it written down in front of us. So I think what I would wish to say and seek the board's support for is that the board restates its support to seek the achievement of an additional 1,000 affordable homes, and that we ask officers to bring forward a report on that to the next meeting. And that is in addition to a number of other issues which the whole world has changed and it continues to change in terms of affordable housing delivery. A number of these issues are in the hands of government, and as we've seen with the 2016 Housing and Planning Act, they make sudden changes which completely change how this is going to be delivered. So I think the 1,000 target is a sound target. And obviously with other things moving, whether it's devolution or different forms of funding or different partnerships with developers, we just have to restate our determination to deliver affordable housing in a really complicated environment. So was that clear enough, Mr. Watts?
Yes.
So could you just read it back and then everybody's... Yeah.
So, what you just said, the board restates its support to seek achievement of 1,000 affordable homes and asks officers to bring forward a report on that to the next meeting.
Including to the Assembly. Yeah, there's a word
Additional.
And contemplates a stretch target on the local plan.
So so there's a second recommendation.
But that, and to I think, sorry, Councillor Burke, I think that's premature, but I think what we are asking as part of the report is that we look at a stretch target after the local plans have been adopted, but we can't recommend that now. Okay. Councillor Bates, do we think we can carry on with this?
As well as it's on the answer that Mr. Chairman is no. I do feel that this is a very complex issue. Affordable housing is important. It's important for local residents, it's important for all of us. So is actually, if you like, the additional ordinary local plans. I think it is does need more reflection than we are allowed time-wise to give it. I would therefore perhaps suggest that we don't accept this paper as it currently stands. We ask actually us to go away to work with the Assembly and the Board to come up with a more appropriate, as directed by the new Director of Planning and Housing, and perhaps bring it back to us as soon as practical, which I think really will be the next meeting. I am still uncomfortable with the words you have read out, Mr. Chairman. Apologies.
Well, I appreciate that we're short on time this afternoon to resolve this, but I would wish to sustain, if I'm supported, a commitment to that the city deal has this as an objective, albeit that government never gave us any tools to achieve it. So I would be grateful if you could read out the words again. I will at least put that to the meeting, and then if that isn't passed, we'll come back to another proposition. Yes. Yeah.
So the board restates its support to seek achievement of 1,000 additional affordable homes, and asks officers to bring forward a report on that to the next meeting, and consider the stretch target after the local plans have been adopted.
So I'd put that to the vote, and then if that fails, then we'll come back. So I'm voting in favour of that.
I will support that, but I want to see a report
Okay. Thank you, Councillor Bates. So thank you, and thank you for raising it, Councillor Smith. As Mr. Colley said, some of this, I mean, I'm not pointing at anybody in particular. Some of this is around the fact that at times we focus on the targets that we agreed with government, but it isn't just about the targets that we agreed with government. It is the fact that we, as councils, need to continue to fight for more affordable homes, and the city deal is part of that.
And my